1960s. This is the third version of it. So earlier there used to be a wind tunnel where it just had a fan on one side and it used to blow. It was an open loop, so wind going from one side, coming back from other side. Open loop means that it will create a lot of noise. The residents used to complain. So this was completely rebuilt in 2015. Now it's a closed loop. So there is a big fan on the other side, on this level, which pushes the air. It goes around turning vanes. So if you look behind there, there is vertical columns. Okay? Those are turning vanes. So basically it basically steers the wind, and then it comes at the front of this test section. What you see here is a boundary layer wind tunnel, which means that we are actually using this facility to simulate flow that will be in the first few hundred meters of the Earth's atmosphere. We are civil engineering department. We want to look at interaction of wind with man-made structures, buildings, stadiums, bridges. So we want to create something which is called the atmospheric surface layer. Now if you go out, you will see that the atmospheric winds, they are not constant. Okay. There is always some turbulence. You will see very strong gust, you might see some breeze, but they keep fluctuating. So to introduce that kind of turbulence in the flow, we use perturbations or disturbances. So those are spires that we use. The spires introduce vertical eddies, the trip board introduces transverse eddies, and then we can use this big turbulence in the smooth flow to create something which would be simulating the gust. The flow keeps developing, and then we put some small disturbances in terms of grass. So if you think of very large fields, they would have uniform surface but some disturbance, so that would be simulated by this. And then we do our testing in this area. So this is a turntable which has the ability to turn at different angles. So we can put a building model, and then we can simulate wind coming from different direction by turning the turntable. Here is a setup where we have can I please, sorry, your conversation is getting, of course. Sorry. So in here we have a model of an airport. So this is an experiment we are doing with a company. So what you see are two lines which represent the runway, and the idea is to check whether any new building that will come near the runway will cause any disturbance for the aircraft to land or take off. Because if you have wind flowing and if you have a building, it will create its own turbulence and it will interfere with takeoff and landing. So this is a very practical example that we work with industry. For students, we also do experiments over tall building models, we do experiments over stadiums, we do experiments over bridges. So there are lots of experiments that we have done, both involving students and industry. It's a very flexible facility, it's a one-of-a-kind facility. In terms of the boundary layer capabilities of simulating the Earth's atmosphere, it is the only facility in Australia anymore. Yeah, so there are other tunnels, but they're not as big. So we are very uniquely placed to do those kind of experiments here. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, again, this facility is used by students. Fourth year students regularly come and do experiments here. Undergraduate students, we bring them to do some labs, and it gives them a direct exposure of how people work in industry to do wind engineering.